Welcome to Mythos AI, your source for Cliff's Notes on complex subjects. Join Anna and Phil for yet another engaging conversation.
Ever get that weird feeling online? Like scrolling and scrolling and you think, wait a minute, haven't I seen this already?
Hmm.
It's like we're all stuck in some kind of digital Groundhog Day, same posts, same opinions, even the same cat memes over and over again.
Right.
It's like the internet's a broken record. So today we're going deep on this idea, this memetic wave, to figure out why everything online is starting to feel so, well, the same.
It's totally a thing, this digital deja vu. And it's actually pretty fascinating. And you're right, it's not just you. It's like there are these unseen forces out there shaping what we see, how we experience the digital world.
Okay, hold on. So I'm not imagining things. There's actually a term for this whole feeling of sameness, this, what was it again? The memetic wave.
Exactly, the memetic wave. And no, it's not about memes, though. That would be pretty meta, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It's more like, imagine this wave of shared ideas, behaviors even, that spreads online, almost like a ripple effect.
Hmm.
And certain types of content, they get amplified, they rise to the top, and suddenly they're everywhere.
So we're all riding this wave, but we don't even realize it's kind of like shaping what we see, how we think.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
But how does this wave even form? What causes these trends to go viral and create this feeling that everything's the same?
Well, let's think about the internet like a house for a minute.
Okay.
Every house has a blueprint, right?
Hmm.
This foundation that determines the structure, how we move through it, experience it. Now, imagine the internet also have a blueprint, like a set of core values, but they're baked into its foundation. I like where you're going with this. So the internet's a house. What are some of those foundational building blocks that are shaping our experience?
Think back to the early days of the internet, all those big ideas coming out of Silicon Valley. What were the driving forces then?
Definitely individualism. Like the internet is this space where anyone could express themselves, build a platform, become their own brand, that whole thing.
Exactly. Freedom of expression, the entrepreneurial spirit even.
Yeah.
This idea that anyone could become an influencer. And these values, they were literally written into the internet's DNA. But here's the thing. As universal as these values might seem, they can actually lead to very different experiences for people coming from diverse cultural backgrounds.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. But it makes sense. Like putting yourself out there, building your personal brand online, that can feel empowering for some cultures. But in others, it might seem, I don't know, maybe even a little boastful or like totally at odds with their values.
Exactly. If you're coming from a more collectivist culture, constantly being bombarded with messages about standing out and building your brand, it could be jarring, even feel inauthentic. And it highlights how the internet, for as borderless as it seems, doesn't always feel like a level playing field.
It's like they were handed a blueprint for a house that just doesn't fit their lifestyle, or the way they see the world.
Yeah.
But it can't just be these initial values shaping everything, right? I mean, the internet's come a long way from dial-up and those early chat rooms.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. And that's where things get even more interesting. Because it's not just the foundation of this internet house that shapes our experience. It's also the invisible architects, the ones constantly tinkering with the layout.
You're talking about algorithms, right? Algorithms. It's all anyone talks about these days. Honestly, sometimes they feel kind of creepy, like they're always watching, listening.
Well, in a way they are. Remember that house analogy we were using?
Yeah.
Algorithms, they're like those sneaky interior decorators who come in and just rearrange your furniture while you're out. They analyze what you click on, what you like, what you spend time looking at, and then they use that information to, optimize your experience.
So they're trying to make the internet more comfortable for us, but are they actually just limiting what we see? Like narrowing our perspective without us even realizing it?
That is the million-dollar question. And it gets right to the heart of how these algorithms actually contribute to this whole memetic wave thing. Let's say, for example, you're on this huge Miles Davis kick.
Oh man, love me some Miles Davis. Kind of Blue.
Yeah.
Always my go-to chill album.
Great taste in music. So you're there listening to Kind of Blue on repeat. And the algorithm, it picks up on that. It's like, okay, this person, they're into jazz, got to give more jazz. And suddenly your entire feed is nothing but trumpet solos and bebop classics, which at first glance seems pretty great, right?
Totally. More of what I love. It's like personalized recommendations just for me.
Exactly. But here's the catch. By constantly feeding you content that's similar to what you already consume, the algorithm inadvertently creates what we call an echo chamber. You're essentially trapped in this feedback loop, only exposed to a narrow slice of the internet that just reinforces your existing tastes, your beliefs, everything.
Well, I never even thought about it like that before. It's like
Yeah.
we're being lulled into this false sense of comfort, you know?
Mm,
It's like familiarity, but the rest of the internet, with all its diversity, all those different viewpoints, they're just passing us by.
that's a great way to put it. And the thing is, it's not just about music, right? This is happening with the news we read, the people we connect with, everything we encounter online. These algorithms, for as much as they're designed to personalize our experiences, sometimes they kind of box us in, and we end up with way less exposure to new ideas, new perspectives, the whole shebang.
It's like we're constantly adding on to our internet house, but we're using the same blueprints every time.
Right.
We just end up with room after room that all look exactly the same.
That's a great way to think about it. And the more time we spend in those identical rooms, the less likely we are to even realize there are other ways to design a house, other ways to experience the internet.
So how do we break free? If we're stuck in this loop, shaped by these hidden blueprints and algorithms and everything, how do we become more conscious? You know, like you said, how do we become more conscious digital citizens and escape this memetic wave?
That's the question, isn't it? And I think the first step is really just awareness. Just realizing that these forces are at play, that the internet isn't this like neutral, objective space we might perceive it to be. Once we understand the rules of the game, so to speak, then we can start to play it a bit more consciously.
Okay, awareness is a good start, but it can't just be about like knowing this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't exactly delete all my social media and go live off the grid. What are some things, some practical things we can do to actually like navigate this whole digital landscape a bit more intentionally?
You're right. It's not about disconnecting altogether. It's more about engaging thoughtfully. And one, I think, really powerful practice is to diversify your information diet.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
So instead of just like reading my usual news sources or following the same types of accounts, I should be branching out more, even if it means like encountering viewpoints that challenge my own.
Exactly. It's all about breaking free from those echo chambers and actually like actively exposing yourself to a wider range of perspectives. Like imagine, for example, instead of just getting your news from one source, you check out how different countries are reporting on the same event.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I never thought about it like that, but that makes total sense. It's like getting a 360-degree view of a situation, not just seeing it from one angle.
Precisely. And this applies to everything, not just the news.
Yeah.
Try exploring books and articles outside of your usual genres. Follow people with different backgrounds and beliefs on social media. Think of it like, how we talk about getting all your nutritional needs met? This is like that, but for your mind.
Okay, I like that. So we're consciously shaping our information intake, making sure we're not stuck in the loop of just like same old, same old. But what about what we contribute to the internet? We're not just passive consumers here, right? I mean, we're creating content, commenting, sharing our thoughts, our experiences. Does that play a role in this memetic wave?
Absolutely. Remember the whole house analogy we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
We're not just living in this internet house, we're constantly renovating it, adding our own little personal touches with every post, every comment, every like.
So it's not just about being mindful of what we consume. It's also about being mindful of what we're creating, what we're sharing online. We're all contributing to this shared digital space, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Every time you post something online, you're adding a new piece of furniture to that internet house. It's a fresh coat of paint, a new detail that shapes the overall, the look and feel of the space. You're essentially curating your own little corner of the internet, but all those individual corners, they add up and they create the larger experience.
Wow, yeah, that visual really drives the point home. It's like we're all part of this giant collaborative art project shaping the digital landscape with like every click, every post, every interaction, which honestly feels kind of powerful when you think about it like that. But also a little daunting, What if I accidentally contribute to the problem? What if I unknowingly reinforce those echo chambers or like spread misinformation?
It's a valid concern, and it speaks to the importance of being intentional about what we put out into the digital world. It's not just about adding to the noise, it's about considering the impact our contributions have, not just on ourselves, but on others as well.
So it's about asking ourselves like, what kind of online experience do I want to create? What kind of digital citizen do I want to be?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have agency here. We're not just along for the ride on this mimetic wave. We can help shape a more diverse, more balanced, more interesting internet, both for ourselves and for, future generations of digital citizens.
Okay, that's actually pretty inspiring. But with all this talk about algorithms and echo chambers and everything, it's easy to feel like we're kind of up against these massive forces that are totally beyond our control. How do we even begin to make a difference as individuals?
That's where the power of awareness and mindful engagement come in, like we were talking about before. Remember, even those small actions, they can have a ripple effect.
So what are some small, practical steps we can take to start making a difference in our own little corners of the internet? I think our listeners, myself included, are eager to hear some actionable takeaways. How do we become the change we want to see in this digital world?
I love that. Small changes, ripple effects. It feels a lot less daunting than trying to, single-handedly reprogram all the algorithms out there, that's for sure. Exactly. And honestly, it can be as simple as just diversifying your online neighborhood, so to speak. Think about who you're following, the pages you like, even just the content that you're sharing. Are you surrounding yourself with a variety of different voices and perspectives, or are you just kind of reinforcing your existing echo chamber?
Okay, so audit my digital neighborhood, check. It's like spring cleaning, but for my online life.
Yeah.
What else?
Be a conscious creator,
Yeah.
Before you hit that post button or you share something, just take a second, consider, what am I contributing here? Am I amplifying something positive? Am I just adding to the noise? Or am I actually offering something, thoughtful, considered?
It's about thinking of our online presence as an extension of ourselves, almost like our own little art exhibit, right? We get to choose what we put out there, how we want to be represented in this digital space.
Precisely. And you know what? Just like in the real world, our actions online, they have consequences. They shape not only our own experiences, but also the experiences of other people too. It's about recognizing that we're all kind of interconnected in this big digital ecosystem.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like we've really uncovered some hidden blueprints of the internet. We've wrestled with this whole idea of the power of algorithms, and we've even explored our own roles as digital architects, curators, you name it. What a journey.
It really has been. It's been a pleasure diving into these ideas with you.
And for everyone listening, we hope this deep dive has empowered you to think a little differently about your online life and, of course, how you engage with this crazy, ever-evolving digital landscape. Remember, you're not just a passive consumer here. You actually have the power to shape the internet you want to see. So go forth, be mindful, be curious, and be the wave of change you want to see online. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Mythos AI. Stay tuned for more concise insights. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe for future episodes.